Hey everyone, I'm super excited for this episode to show you where I am. Columbus, Ohio, with the one and only Ryan Johnson, also known as Cardcollector 2. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Before we start, I just want to tell you how excited I am to be here in shop with Ryan. Ryan is one of the very first people who inspired me to do what I do, to quit teaching, to pursue. Is that your mail day?
Yeah, we got a Panini Redemption live on the video.
And of course, because we're here with Ryan, we got interrupted by a Panini Redemption at the door. But what I was saying is that Ryan is a pioneer in this space. Not only has he started a lot of what's super popular on social media for cards today, he's inspired so many people to pursue doing what he does. Most importantly, to pursue and learn what's possible when you do what you love. And one thing that I've learned about Ryan throughout the years, and even more so now, being able to talk to him here in person, is how much he loves cards. So that's what we want to highlight today. Not Ryan Cardcollector 2 as a business owner, but I am going to ask you questions about that. But Ryan Cardcollector 2 as Cardcollector 2. Okay.
Love it. Well, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for being here. This is not an easy trip, and not a little bit of travel. It is a lot of travel. So first off, I appreciate you guys coming so far and spending a few days with us here in Columbus.
Yeah, I just think part of the journey for me these past few years that it's kind of still unbelievable is how much you do get to travel. And I think that comes with some people, it's not as a necessity traveling, but it's definitely helps you grow and build because you get to meet people. I think is the most important part about traveling. What would you say is the most important part about traveling for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the relationship piece of it, right? It's, when we first started, when Brad and I were traveling, it was a lot more like seeing new places and getting those experiences. I mean, I wasn't on an airplane until I was 26 years old for the first time ever. So we didn't travel a lot when I was a kid, at least not by plane. It never happened. So being able to travel, we've been to London and Canada and all over the U.S. for shows. Like, those are just memories, and that's a lot of fun. But now it's just being away from the business and my wife and son. It's a lot more about the relationships and building something. I mean, there's card shows really everywhere. So it's, if you go somewhere, it's the things outside of the cards and the card show. It's the relationships, the people, those moments. I think that's a lot more important.
It's wild that you say that you were never on a plane until you were 26 years old. So the first time I ever traveled alone was when I was 27 years old for this too.
Yeah.
If you could have put a number on how many times you've been on a plane since?
Oh man, a ton.
You're averaging what, a year? And it's
probably
been
gone 24 weekends a year, almost half the weekends.
So that multiplied by 5-ish?
Yeah, I guess it depends if you count every single flight, and we travel with my wife and son, so a lot, 250 plus flights for sure, a lot. Yeah, a ton, bunch. I bet it's a good bit higher, but yeah, it's fun. Enjoy it.
Ryan, what I want to ask you first is, everyone wants to know, how did you start? What was the very first card you purchased?
Oh man, it's a good question. I think our journeys into cards are similar. I started with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I had experience with those in school when I was super young. And then there was a guy that went to the same high school as I did. I was 10, 11 years younger. His name is Donnie Nicky. I still collect him to this day. But he, at that time, this is 2002, won a national championship with Ohio State. So I was super inspired. I mean, I graduated with 150 kids. We went to a small school, so to see that happen at a young age, I was like, this is awesome. So I remember ripping packs, chasing his rookie card in the local mall parking lot with my mom. So some of my earliest memories in cards and my earliest things would have been around his rookie cards for sure. I still have a lot of that stuff from when I was a kid. So that's where my journey really started. And then I got into it more hardcore in 06. So I was 13, 14, got access to the internet, a phone, and was doing a lot of I was watching YouTube videos. I was on online forums, because that was the big thing before social media. Now you've got Facebook and Instagram and whatnot and all these places, eBay, ComC, shows. You got a million places to buy cards. But back in the day, before social media existed, it was all forums. So it was like Sports Card Forum, Beckett forums. Like you went online and just bought and sold on forums. And I did that for a long time, and that ended up leading me to Instagram in like 2013. Just built that up, and in 2018 I quit my job to do this full time. I was like, I think I can do this, I want to do this, and my goal was like, hey, one day I went on a card store, and 7 months later I got offered my local card shop, bought it, closed for 7 days to remodel, and opened it in end of May in 2019, and it's been a journey since.
That's so crazy. I love how you mentioned your mom.
Yeah.
Your very first packs that you were opening. How has she felt about your journey so far? And how involved has she been?
Yeah, my parents aren't super involved, honestly. But I think, you know, I'm sure you can attest to this, like when you tell people, like, you know, going back 5-6 years ago, like cards weren't cool. It wasn't ever the cool thing for me growing up. It wasn't like, people were not like, oh, you collect cards? That's so sick, man. That's awesome. I love that. That's cool. Like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell a lot of people. So like, I went to shows and I spent a lot of time collecting, but like, my parents weren't like super like, hey, how much are you doing? Like, what does this look like? It was a lot more like, I'm just buying and selling cards and trading.
Okay.
So like, my parents weren't super involved in that, and you know, I think there was probably some hesitation with a lot of like my support system when, you know, I said I'd like to buy and sell cards full time. Like that, you're like, what do you mean? Like, really? Like,
Yeah.
so like, I think there's some skepticism there, but yeah, my parents are super supportive now. Like, they live still in my hometown and the house I grew up in, and yeah, it's fun, but it's you know, it's I wouldn't say they're super involved in it.
Okay. Yeah, same. How so talk about that jump. So a lot of people say that once you start doing something that you love for a living, for work, you kind of start falling out of love with it a little bit. It becomes mundane to
Sure.
some people. Like, how have you dealt with that? Have you felt that?
No, not even the slightest. No, I love cards. I think that's the big thing is, I love it. But I think I've also learned more, like when I first started and I first quit my job to do this, you know, you don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And then to get offered the card store, and I'm like, cool, I want to build this. And I think the thing I've enjoyed a lot over the last 5 to 6 years doing this is like really building the business piece of it. Like, you know, I told you before, like the first shop was right across the street. It was 500 square feet, didn't have air conditioning, had a Harry Potter closet style bathroom. Like, it was so small. And to be in a shop now that we have space in, that, you know, we've built a really cool team. So I've really enjoyed building the business in it. So it's like, you know, the mundane piece, I think that's the thing about this is like, no 2 days are the same. Like, it's not the same thing every day. We do the same tasks, but like, those are not every day. Like, some days we're pricing cards, and some days we're filming content, and some days we're traveling to go look at collections and card shows, and some days, you know, you just, it's never the same. And that's why I like it so much is, you know, mundane is the same 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, the same job with the same people in the same location. That, like, that monotony, I didn't like, I couldn't do it. This is completely different. So to me, it's been the exact opposite. I love doing this. I love building with people I care about. I always say that. Like, the people that work here are our number one asset. They're the best people. Like, I feel really strongly about the people that we have on our team, like, for sure. Some of the best people I know are helping us build this, and that is what's fun. But it's never like mundane. It's never a job. It is. I'm very fortunate to get up and buy and sell sports cards for a living. It's something I don't take for granted.
Very nice. I think you made a really great point there that it's definitely different though. Like, buying and selling cards is one, and then building the business aspect is a completely other thing that you really do have to fall in love with
100%.
as well. So when it comes to business, Ryan, how much in dollars do you buy in cards a month, you would guess?
A lot. Yeah.
Can you put a number on it? No?
6 figures.
6 figures?
Yeah, on a monthly basis. Are you talking like singles, wax?
Singles.
Yeah, 6 figures a month.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
well into 6 figures.
And since you love cards so much, how do you separate the ones that you want to sell in shop? How do you separate the ones you want to sell online? And how do you want to separate the ones that you want to keep for yourself?
That is really hard. That is a good question, but that is really hard. You know, unfortunately can't keep them all. I love collecting. That's one thing you learn about me is I love collecting cards. I always say I would collect them if they were worth no money at all. So to be able to collect them now is really cool, especially to chase some of the stuff that I would have wanted as a kid. And I say a lot that like the story behind the card is just as cool as the card itself. That's really the reason you collect the card, is the reason behind it. So that is a tough thing for sure, especially because like you have a business, like we have a shop, we have a Whatnot account, we have an online, we have a website, we have a lot of places we sell cards. So when I post a really cool card, it leads to, I would like to buy that card. And like we've built an audience, and I'm grateful for that somebody would want to buy a card from us. Like that's cool. Like I don't take that for granted. But then it's like, well, I don't really want to sell that card, right? And you've got to kind of balance like growing a business, getting new customers, like meeting people, the relationship piece of that, and not wanting to sell something, right? That's hard. I showed you the Daisy Ridley, the Ray Super.
Yeah, he doesn't want to sell it to me.
You're like, hey, we're gonna get a deal done. I'm like, this card was pulled ripping boxes with my family on Christmas. Yeah. I don't want to sell it. There's not a number I can put on that.
Agreed.
And forever, I will remember that card and where I ripped it and how I acquired it. So it's like, for me, it's not a money thing. It's like, I really enjoy collecting the cards. So like, that is hard. But when you're spending that kind of money to build a business and to offer new things, like sometimes it's, hey, where are we hot in the business? Is that in shop? Is that online? Where do we need to, gain some traction? So a lot of it's a business decision based on like where we have need at the moment. Obviously, like I remember using the analogy back in the day. It's like I didn't put a lot of Kyler Murray autos out in here. He's an Arizona Cardinal. It was a lot more like Marvin Harrison, who is an Arizona Cardinal, but went to Ohio State. So it was a lot more like regional stuff. We've grown that lately. We have downtowns, kabooms, like some of the more popular cards that people want to transact on. So we're trying to grow that. But you've seen like, we've really grown in this space, and we're trying to maximize every space, every square foot or square inch we have in here. But we only have so much showcase space. So it's how do you balance what is seen, what's in boxes, what goes online. It's in a box and it's not being looked at, it sits, right? Then it's dead. And the one thing I've learned a lot about in this business is cash flow is king. So as we're spending that kind of money buying new inventory, you've got to have things going out just as quickly as they're coming in. Mm-hmm. And at that kind of volume, to spend that much, well, you got to put it out. Well, if you're putting it out, it's got to keep going, and you don't want to be cash rich, card poor in a card business, and you don't want to be card poor, cash rich, whatever.
Card rich, cash poor.
Yeah, or the opposite, right? You don't have too much money or too much cards. You've got to have an equal balance in those. Like you've got to have cash to be able to buy the next deal, and you've got to have cards to be able to sell to buy more cards. Right. So that balance is tricky. So it's how do you balance that? So again, a lot of it is a business decision.
Always be buying and always be selling.
For sure. Yeah. And that's the thing is it's not like. That's what I like so much about this is like, you're like, is it mundane? It's like, no, we sell a lot every day and we buy a lot every day. Like it has to happen in order for us to grow. Like if we get one in a week without buying anything, like, okay, we have no new inventory, nothing is out, there's no new content around that. So like our whole thing is like, that is a continuous process, and every day you're learning.
I love that. It's a testament to what you build. I've been saying that all day today, but definitely falling in love with different aspects of the business that may seem mundane, and just figuring out a way to enjoy it.
Yep.
Like you said, always buying, always selling, finding really great people to be part of your team is really key too. I love that you touched on that. So definitely a lot to learn there, a lot to take away for everybody. So let's get into your cards. Okay. You said you love cards.
Love cards.
I asked Ryan to bring 3 of his favorites to share with us today. So what do you have for us first, Ryan?
So I'm going to start with these. These are more new additions, but these are really, really special to me for a completely different reason than those. I have very fortunate to have a really cool Ohio State collection. I love collecting Ohio State. I grew up an Ohio State Buckeye. I will rock Ohio State. Like, I've had Buckeyes in the shop. We'll have a Buckeye for Hobby Rip Night. Mm-hmm. Like, Ohio State is a big part of my identity. So I've been very fortunate enough to collect Ohio State Buckeyes over the years. I've been very fortunate enough to meet some really cool people in the hobby as well. Really cool. You being one of them, many other cool collectors. One of them, unfortunately, passed away at 17 years old last November, who was a fan of my content, and I had met at the National and at our shop a few times. Actually came to our shop, I think 3 or 4 months before he originally got diagnosed with cancer. His name was also Jack Sawyer. So these are 2 Jack Sawyer 101s from the National. The National is a really special place to me for a lot of reasons. I haven't missed one since Cleveland in 2009. That was the first one I ever went to. I haven't missed one since. Got to meet Jack Sawyer, the collector, at the National. It was one of the places, the last places we got to speak. And so like the National's special to me. Ohio State is special to me. And there's a player on Ohio State's football team named Jack Sawyer, right? Same name as the collector who passed away. So this is just like everything about that I love. Like Jack Sawyer was a friend and was taken way too soon. And he holds a dear spot in my heart. So to have both 101s, the auto and the non-autoed version of that name, I've been very open at that I want to keep that name, Jack Sawyer, alive in the hobby. So this is my way to do that. So yeah, I was able to acquire both of these. One, the non-auto was listed during the National, and I bought that, and then this came up to me at the National. So I was able to acquire both of Jack Sawyer's best cards in the last 6 weeks, and I thought that was really, really special. So I've made that promise that I would keep that name going, and I feel like this is like the centerpiece of my Ohio State collection at the moment, and this is me doing my part to make sure the name Jack Sawyer is around forever.
My favorite part about all of this is all the incredible connections that
Yep.
you made with this. Being it that the last time you spoke to him was at the National. It's the one of one. Ohio State's a
Yep.
part of your identity. Another really important part, I think, that we don't speak of enough as card collectors is the things that we're drawn to are very much part of our identity.
100%.
In our last video I did with Ryan on his YouTube channel, I talked a lot about how the Dodgers were a big part of my identity growing up, and
Yep.
that's what ties me to the sport, that's what ties me to the team, and why I feel so passionate about collecting the cards, just like you here. But the most beautiful part about these cards is how they connect you to another human being, how they're a memory of that person. I think a lot of ways, how you won't sell me the Ray because you ripped that with your family, I think is another really beautiful part about what we do as collectors. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing Jack's stories, definitely living on as long as you continue to talk about it,
Yeah.
I feel, and that's what we can do.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
For sure. Yeah, those are my favorites for sure. I would say this one's probably up there as next. So this was hit in my shop the first year I was open. So this
Okay.
is a Patrick Mahomes 2019 Playbook 1/1 patch auto. At the time, Mahomes wasn't where he's at now, right? 3-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP. He wasn't there yet, but was on that trajectory. It was one of the first really big hits in my shop. There's a video of it. Brian went crazy when he pulled it. This appears to be a red trifold book. We're hoping it's Mahomes. Mahomes.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's autoed. It's autoed. It's autoed.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I knew when it was pulled, I was like, I want it. I was really big in Mahomes early. I sold almost all of my good Mahomes stuff in August of 18 at the National because I got married in October of 18.
So that was like, so exactly after his first start, or?
He started, I think he started the last game for the Chiefs his rookie year because like Smith was on like the IR, they benched him and they let Mahomes play, I think the end of 17.
Yeah, it was
But
like,
Mahomes went into
right before
18.
the playoffs, right? Because I think they made the playoffs that year.
That sounds right. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly, but he started in 18. So he hadn't done anything yet. It's funny, another story about Mahomes. Like I said, I had cool Mahomes stuff, National Treasures, Cracked Ice, and Mike Kafka is the offensive coordinator now for the New York Giants. Hit me up that summer. He was the quarterbacks coach for Patrick Mahomes. He collects cards.
That's crazy.
And Kafka hit me up and said, hey, you have a Cracked Ice Patrick Mahomes auto. I'm willing to make a trade for field passes to the game, tickets to the game, and I'll let you meet Patrick Mahomes for that card. We had a trade. And I passed
Oh my.
and said, Mahomes isn't much yet. I need to sell this card to pay for my wedding. Because we've talked about this before. My wife, we had some conversation around like what my journey in cards was going to be like and if I could do it. And my promise to her was I would pay for our wedding from cards to prove that I could do this as a business. So I needed that reassurance. I wanted her to see what I was capable of. So selling that was what got me there. So every decision's led me right here, and I feel really good right here. But unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Patrick Mahomes. After he comes out those 6 touchdown passes against the Steelers, stuff blew up. So I was really big in Mahomes. I didn't have a lot left at that time. So to buy something like this of a guy I believed in early, hit in my shop. I've said this is the product hit in 2019 playbook. Brady's not in it. Lamar's in it. Kyler's not as big as Mahomes. This is the product hit for 2019 playbook.
Absolutely.
It was hit in my shop. It was a cool moment I shared with another collector at the time, and I got to own it. And so something like this, again, just the memory behind it. So many ties to Mahomes. I like that piece of the cards where I was in on Mahomes early. I had the opportunity to meet him. It was pulled in my shop with another collector. It's the product. There's just so much. There's so many different pieces of that story, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, I love that. I love everything about that. I actually was at his first start as QB1.
Really?
Against the Chargers. Yeah, my husband took me that game.
So was that like the last game of 17?
No, that was game 1, 2018.
Gotcha.
And he
Gotcha. See, I thought it was the Steelers.
absolutely
That's
blew
crazy.
up. He was never... No, that was game 1, 2018. Steelers was probably right before the playoffs.
Gotcha.
Because they did make the playoffs that season, I'm pretty sure. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. I don't remember.
Yeah, either way, he's turned into something special. So to have a card like this is...
One of my favorite things about doing YouTube, by the way, is when I say things off. Like,
oh, man.
It'll be like 2021, but I said 2020.
Smoke.
Please keep
internet.
smoking me because that's the only way I'm going to learn.
I said something the other day. I felt so stupid afterwards. I bought a Roman Harper Bowman Chrome. This is a football player in 2006. It was like the year I got into it hardcore. I bought an orange refractor the other day. I'm like, this guy picked off Peyton Manning. He picked off Peyton Manning to seal the Super Bowl. I'm like, dude, this card's like $5. I was so excited. Yeah. And I put it on a mail day, and I said that on video, and someone's like, it wasn't Roman Harper, it was Tracy Porter. And I'm like,
oh, man.
So anytime, like, I've done it a few times, like, got #1 picks mixed up, and people will catch it and smoke you. And I'm like, close enough. Like, I knew something.
You knew what I was talking about.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
knew.
I say.
So.
That's what I'll reply to. You knew what I was saying.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
But those would be the first two. And then this one. This is special.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, growing up as a kid, like, this to me was sports cards. If you said, hey, what is the sports card as a kid, I'd still probably say it now. I know some people think the Wagner is probably in the conversation. To me, it was always the 52 Topps Mantle. I wanted one as long as I could remember. It's iconic. I understand the debate about the 51 Bowman being the rookie. 52 Topps is the first year Topps baseball. Dumped in the harbor in New York. There's so many things about like the story around the card and what it is and what it means. So this is the first 52 Topps Mickey Mantle I ever bought. I remember it vividly. Brian and I were at a card show in Nashville, and this was, I'm gonna get my dates wrong. I remember everything that happened, but it was either summer of 21, it was like September of 21 or September of 22, one of those years. We're walking around the Nashville show, and the Nashville show, the one there is it's almost like a bowl, it's like an arena. There's like an upper level where you can like view down, and there's a bottom level where the show was going on. And I remember a guy was walking around, or we were walking around just filming, just doing our thing, just chatting, and a guy comes up and goes, just kind of like out off to the side, and was like, you want to buy a 52 Topps set? And I'm like, I didn't own one, I had never seen it, and I was like, just kind of like out of the blue, and I was like, well, yeah, sure, like, do you have one? And sure enough, we went up to the top, like to the upper arena, and had it in a case and pulled it out and had the mantle. And I think the number, it's on the video. I think the number we agreed on was like 47 or 47.5 for the whole 52 set. And I remember calling my wife, and I think this is in the video too. Like I remember calling her, and I'm like, hey, I'm about to spend almost $50,000 buying this. Like, this is this, and she's like, well, You want to hear something crazy?
Reggie Jackson under 110.
I just spent
Ricky Henderson under
$50,000.
120.
Yeah. That's how you can tell we've come a long way with Regina, because I told her I bought a 52 top set and she didn't freak out. So that's how you know we're making progress. It's kind of a sticker shock. It was like really one of my, still to this day, one of my bigger purchases on like one individual like collection, like that one individual deal. And I was like, I'm about to buy this. And I just remember sharing that with her and just what that feeling was like, being able to acquire that card in that time, just special. So yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a fun one. And again, just to be able to buy that card and to own it is cool. It's one of those ones I want to pass on to my son one day for sure. It's a cool card and something I'm grateful to own.
Definitely. Talk about that a little bit, how passing on to your son your collection or even the business,
Yeah.
what does that look like for you, and what are your...
Yeah, it's something I never really thought about, you know, when I quit my job. Like, I love cards. You'll hear me say that a million times. I just mean it so much. Like, I love cards. So when I quit my job to do this, it was like, I want to do this all day. Like, this is fun. And then you build a business, you open a shop and you build that and you create content, you do all these things. Then you have a kid. Kid changes your life. You can't imagine how much life changes and what life looks like post kid, like, or when you have a kid. You know, people can tell you, oh, it's different. Nothing can prepare you for that. So yeah, just priorities shift, life changes, and you just look at the world a whole lot differently when you have a kid. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Like, you know, being able to, my wife used to work at Disney, so like to watch some Disney and to get Disney cards and bring those home and give them to him and see him, you know, he's not even, you know, a year and a half. So to be able to kind of share that with him is fun, and it definitely changes my vision on like picking up cards though. It's, what do I buy now that I love to collect? Jack Sawyer and that and the Ohio State piece, that piece that's a part of me. And then it's, what would I want to give to my son 50 years from now? And those are the things I try to look for.
Oh, I really like that, because I struggle with that. I don't struggle with that, but I definitely, when I'm buying cards, I always have my kids in mind too.
Yep.
Like what they would like, or what I'm trying to do a lot right now is pick cards up of stuff that they love.
Yep.
So we're heavy Spider-Man, heavy Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So
we don't have any Miss Rachel cards yet, or I'd have probably picked a couple of those up so far.
Sure there's
I'd probably have the Miss Rachel rookie card if it existed. I'd probably own one.
We need to make her one. Actually, we need to get Miss Rachel on the phone with Todd.
Yeah. That would, I'm telling you, we would own that if it existed, for sure.
The super fractor. That's funny. Okay, thank you so much, Ryan, for sitting down with us. I had such a good time learning more about you, your story, and what you collect. Where can we find more of this content from you?
Yeah, you can find us really anywhere on social. It's just Cardcollector 2 across everything. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's whatnot. It's Cardcollector 2 everywhere.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for coming.